Couple of things that we're going to accomplish today. This little workbook that was handed out. The first 3 or 4 pages are actually just as part of this program. We're going to help you through it. The last page is actually an assignment for your class. Okay? So if you want, I would just rip that part of it off right now. Keep that handy because we are going to be answering all of these questions for you today. That way you can get it turned in for your class assignment. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. And on this, I see some of you have already done it. That's great. On the first page, go ahead and just list 5 of your friends' names for me real quick. First names are fine. No, just any friends you got. Yeah. Having a hard time coming up with 5 friends? Is that what it is?
He's lying.
He can
Don't lie to be popular,
cheat off your
bud.
neighbor. It's okay.
I didn't. There's 3 up there.
Again, that's just for your reference. So boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever you got. Okay, after you've done that, if you would, go ahead and turn to the next page. Now what we did is we did a study, and we found out that out of 100 teenagers who start driving, so that's you guys at age 16, before you are done with your teenage years, this is what we have found is going to happen to you. Out of 100 teenagers, 37 of you are going to be ticketed for speeding while you're a teenager. 4 out of 100 teenagers are going to be ticketed for a drug or alcohol-related offense. 28 out of 100 of you are going to be involved in an accident. 13 out of 100 of you will be injured in an accident, and 1 out of 100 teenagers will be killed in an automobile accident. Now let's talk about that one person for just a minute. 1 out of 100 teenagers are going to be killed in an automobile accident. How's that most likely to happen? Well, here's what we found. Most likely, you're going to be in a vehicle that is being driven by a youthful operator. So most likely you're going to be with your friends, you're not going to be with your mom and dad. Most likely it will happen at night. Most teenagers are killed at night, and most likely you will not have been wearing your seatbelt. In fact, the statistic that we found is that only 2% of the teenagers that are killed in an automobile accident actually wear their seatbelts. 98% of teenagers who die don't wear seatbelts. So obviously we are advocates of wearing seatbelts because we know they save lives. Okay? Now, I don't remember exactly what these numbers add up to, but if I added these numbers up, I think it's like 83 or 84 out of 100 teenagers will be involved in these statistics. That's not very good odds. Most of you are either going to get a ticket or get in an accident. So obviously that's what I'm here today to do, is talk to you about how to avoid that. Because that's going to affect your insurance rates, and that's what I'm here to do today also, is to teach you how to keep your insurance rates as cheap as possible. Okay, what I want you to do, keeping these numbers in mind, what I want you to do is go back to the first page where you listed all your friends. Out of your 5 friends, I want you to choose 2 of them who you think are most likely to be involved in these statistics. Okay? Just put a little check by their name. Whatever you want to do. Okay, after you've chosen those 2 out of your 5, what I want you to do is go to your 3rd page. And we have 10 places here, but I want you each to take a minute and list 2 or 3 reasons why you chose those friends over your other friends. And what is it about their attitude, their behavior, their personality? You don't need to list all 10, but if you'll each list 2 or 3, we're going to discuss them, and then you can fill out the rest of them if you'd like to. Okay? So take just a minute to do that. Okay, let's talk about a few of these. What'd you come up with? Anybody? I don't want to hear any names, but give me a few reasons. What'd you come up with? Go ahead.
Too cocky.
Too cocky?
Might be in a rush to get somewhere.
Okay, always in a hurry to get somewhere. What else?
Like to go fast.
Go fast?
Try to take risks.
Take risks?
Rather than concentrating.
Okay, don't pay attention. Something else?
Never been alert with his surroundings.
Okay.
Really rebellious.
Rebellious? Are you guys writing all these down? Okay, what else?
Easily distracted.
Easily distracted, very good. You know, we made
Text messaging addiction.
which
Did we
addiction?
mention that?
Which addiction?
Text messaging.
Texting. Easily distracted, right?
Yes.
You know, we made a list of 10 things that we have found contribute to tickets and accidents. Actually, most of what you said made our list as well. You know, not paying attention, easily distracted, always in a hurry, showing off. Some people just don't care about other people's property or rights. But there's a couple of them that you didn't come up with that I want to take a minute and talk about. And let me ask it this way, and I want you to be honest with me, okay? By raise of hands, how many of you know somebody at Westlake High School that drinks alcohol? By raise of hands. Okay? It's like, about half of us.
Include yourself too.
Okay, how about the same question? How many of you know somebody at Westlake that does drugs? Okay? You know what? You're not alone. I do this same presentation at Lehigh, Lone Peak, American Fork, Pleasant Grove, and here now at Westlake. And almost invariably, everybody raises their hands that they know somebody that does drugs or drinks alcohol. And that is still the leading cause of fatal accidents among teenagers, drugs and alcohol, even in Utah. I know sometimes we think we're immune to that because we live here in Utah, but again, that's still the leading cause of fatal accidents. Now, we find all these faults in our friends, right? They're crazy, they don't pay attention, they show off. But you need to be honest with yourself and ask yourself, do you have any of these same attitudes? Because these are the things that are going to cause a problem. Now, I realize me standing up here today and saying, hey, now don't do drugs and don't drink, it doesn't really mean a whole lot to you guys. But you can be honest with yourself and just say, you know what, maybe sometimes I don't pay attention like I should. And all I'm trying to do again is teach you some habits on how to avoid tickets and accidents. Okay, we got a lot to talk about, so we're going to just fly through this as much as we can, as quickly as we can. But obviously we are here to talk about automobile insurance. Who can tell me real quick, what is automobile insurance? I mean, what's it for? How's it work? Go ahead, what's your name?
Michael?
Michael, go for it.
Well, in case your car gets in an accident or it's damaged or scratched, the insurance will probably cover it if
Okay.
you got the right coverage.
So if you're in a wreck, it's your fault. The insurance is supposed to be there to help you pay for the cost of the accident, right? That's pretty fair and simple. Well, let's think of insurance, if we can, and maybe as this funnel, or maybe it's a pot with a hole in the bottom of it. Let's talk about these accidents for just a minute. If you were in a serious accident, maybe 2 or 3 cars are involved, a couple of people seriously injured, do you have any idea how much something like that might cost? What do you think? Well, let's throw a couple numbers around. Let's say you just totaled a brand new Suburban. What's a new Suburban worth nowadays?
A lot.
40, 50 grand, something like that. Okay. The latest statistic I heard is that the average medical cost of a person who is life-flighted away from an automobile accident, if they're injured, is about $98,000. That's the average medical cost.
How much?
$98,000. Okay? So 2 or 3 people seriously injured, couple cars totaled, you can see that's going to add up to a lot of money in a hurry. Okay? How many of you have a few $100,000 sitting in the bank? You can just take care of that, no problem. Okay? Most of us don't. So that's why we have insurances. It helps us pay for those costs. Now, we know that insurance companies are filthy rich, right? They've got all the money in the world. Doesn't matter what happens. They've got the money to take care of these things. You guys didn't get this yet? Okay. Let's talk about that for just a minute. Where does the insurance company get their money to pay for these accidents? Where does that money come from? Say it louder. From all of us, right? We all have to take money out of our pockets and put it into this pot. Now, when somebody gets in a wreck, we use that money and pay for the accident. So in reality, who's really paying for these accidents?
Us.
You guys are. All the insurance company is doing is collecting your money and paying for your accidents. That's something to remember because as a consumer, you have a responsibility to keep these insurance rates as cheap as possible. What happens if we don't have enough money down here to pay for all the accidents that are happening? What do we have to do up here? Your rates go up. We charge you more. And that's just a harsh reality of life, is if there's not enough money there, then we have to charge more rates. Now, here's an interesting concept. You're in a wreck. Okay, it's the other guy's fault, and you get hurt really bad. In fact, you get hurt so bad that it broke your fingernail, and you're mad, so you sue that guy for $1 million.
Fingernail?
Do we live in that kind of a society today?
Oh,
We do, don't we?
yeah.
So you decide to sue that guy. Who are you really suing? Are you suing the insurance company?
No, us.
You're kind of suing yourself, aren't you? All I'm saying is you have a responsibility to try to keep your insurance rates as cheap as possible. And we're going to talk a lot about how to do that today. So having said that, does everybody pay the same amount of money into this pot? Everybody pays the exact same, right? No. We know that some of you might be paying little dollars in here, and some of you might be paying big dollars. It all depends on the likelihood of if we think you're going to get in a wreck or not. And you know what? Insurance companies are really good about predicting who's going to get in a wreck. We literally have hundreds of factors that we can look at that help us decide if you're going to get in a wreck or not. And we're going to talk about some of those because a lot of these are in your control. Okay? So to do that, what we're going to do, let's go ahead and turn to the next page in our workbook. Also, on your assignment, the very last question on your assignment, it says, what are some of the things you can do to save money on insurance? Keep that handy because we're going to go through a bunch of those right now. The first thing we're going to talk about in our workbook here is speeding tickets. We have found that speeding tickets have a direct relationship on accidents. Now, according to this chart, if you have one speeding ticket, how much more likely are you to get in a wreck? 1.6. What about 2 tickets? 2.2. So in theory, if you have 2 speeding tickets, you are more than twice as likely to get in a wreck than your friend. Now, if you're more than twice as likely to get in a wreck than your friend, what should we do to your insurance rates? Raise them up, right? And in theory, we should double them. That's kind of the way it works. The more tickets you have, the greater the chance of you getting in a wreck, the more we're going to charge you for insurance. How many of you knew that? Tickets are going to cost you more for insurance, right? Obviously, this is the reason why. Okay? Now, just to run a couple numbers here real quick. From those very first statistics that we talked about, how many of 100 of you are going to get in a wreck? Does anybody remember what that number was? Was it 18? I think it was a little more than that. 20 something? What was it? 28? As a teenager, you have a 28% chance of getting in a wreck. Now, if you have 2 speeding tickets, I'm no math whiz, but what can I do to that number? Double it. Maybe you have a 50, 60% chance of getting in a wreck. Now, I have teenagers that come into my office once in a while who have several speeding tickets. Maybe they have 4 or 5 or 6 speeding tickets. Now, if I follow that little chart down and I have a teenager with several speeding tickets, I can now take that number and multiply it maybe by 3 or maybe 3.5 or maybe even 4. Now, if I take 28 and times that by 3.5 or 4, what does that number come pretty close to? About 100%. Okay? Statistically, a teenager with a lot of speeding tickets, I don't have to ask the question of if they are ever going to get in a wreck, but what? When. It's just a matter of time. Statistics tell me teenagers with a lot of tickets are going to get in a wreck. Now, I'm a nice guy, but if I have a teenager come into my office and they have several tickets and I know they're going to get in a wreck, do I want to insure them? No. Is that because I'm biased and I just hate teenagers?
No, that's because they can't pay it.
That might be too. Okay? The reality of it is not worth the risk to my insurance company that we're going to pay out a lot of money on your behalf. So I'm going to say, thank you for thinking of me, but no thanks. You know, why don't you go down the street and see if you can buy your insurance down there? It's not that I'm a bad guy. I'm just being very honest. Do you want me to let a bunch of these people in your insurance pool? You really don't. So I'm doing it to protect you guys too. Okay? Because we don't want a lot of bad risk people in our insurance pool. We want to insure people who are going to keep my rates cheap, that we don't have to pay a lot of claims out. So you're going to get mad at me, you're going to stomp it down to my office, you're going to go down the street, and you're going to walk in that guy's insurance office with all these tickets, and what's he going to say? No thanks, right? If you have a lot of speeding tickets, you're going to find it very difficult to buy insurance. Now you will find a company that will do it, because there are companies that will insure high risk. But when you find one of those companies, are they going to be cheap or expensive?
Expensive.
Very expensive. Sorry, Michael, did you have a question? Or did we answer it already? Okay, that's good. Anyway, yeah, if you have a question, don't hesitate to ask.
I was going to say something. Pretty much they're screwed.
Again, you can buy it, but it will be very expensive. Again, I'm not trying to be the bad guy here today. I'm just being very honest with you. Hey, if money's no object, go get all the tickets you want. I'm just trying to teach you on how to keep your insurance rates as cheap as possible. Okay? So on your assignment, now at the bottom, avoid tickets, right? That's going to help you save money on your insurance. Okay, how about this one? Another factor we want to talk about. Do you think the type of vehicle you drive is going to affect your insurance rates? What do you think?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's use an example. Let's say that Michael goes out and buys his dream car. Okay? He goes out and buys a brand new 2010 Jaguar. How's that? Does that work for you?
More of a GM fan.
Well, okay. We'll think bigger than that for just a minute. Okay, but on the other hand, what's your name?
Tyler.
Tyler, on the other hand, he's a really big spender, so he goes out and buys a 1970 Ford Pinto. Do you even know what a Ford Pinto is? Lucky you. It's the one with the little wood paneling down the side. It's a good looking car. I had one when I was a kid growing up. Who do you think should pay more for insurance, Michael or Tyler? What do you think? Tyler? Michael? Why Michael?
Replace his car.
How much would we have to pay to replace his car if we totaled it in a wreck?
You don't have to replace it, you just gotta fix it.
Well, if it's totaled, we got to replace it. I don't even know, what's a new Jaguar worth? A couple, 300 grand? I have no idea.
More than an H1.
By far. How much would we have to replace? How much would we have to pay to replace Tyler's car?
$50.
$50? Okay.
You could probably buy him a new car.
Which car is most likely to get in a wreck? A car that can go 200 miles an hour or a car that can go
15.
15 on a good day? Right? Okay. Let me tell you something though. We don't necessarily like piece of junk cars, but we don't like fast, expensive sports cars either. In fact, you know what we really don't like to insure? I hate to say it, we don't like teenagers who drive fast, expensive sports cars. Why is that? It's because we're biased. We hate teenagers, right? Okay, not true. Just so you know, we love teenage drivers. But what happens when a teenager gets behind the wheel of a fast, expensive sports car?
He'll want to show off.
Show off, they go fast, right? And usually that car ends up wrapped around a tree somewhere. Okay? So again, if money's no object, hey, go get you a fast, expensive sports car. If not, be careful what you buy. Michael?
My dad sent me this email. It has a guy's Ferrari, and his teenage daughter totaled it, ripped it in half.
I believe it.
So
It can happen.
you can probably imagine how much a Ferrari would have to cost.
Exactly, I can see it.
Although, keeping the
Now-
daughter alive, priceless.
What we like is we like mid-sized cars that have a lot of safety features. Now, what kind of safety features are we talking about?
Seatbelts,
Seatbelts, airbags,
suspension.
ABS, anti-lock brakes.
Awesome.
If your car is equipped with like airbags or anti-lock brakes, it actually saves you a little bit of money on your insurance. We give you a discount for that. So I put that down too. Just put down safety features can save you a little bit of money.
How much insurance do you charge on a tank?
We'll get into that next time, okay? Okay. So we talked about tickets. We talked about the type of car you drive.
Brian Martin, will you please come to the front office? Brian Martin.
Where you live affects your insurance rates. Did you know that Utah County rates are cheaper than Salt Lake County rates? Well, why would that be? What do you think?
Salt Lake's near a lot of rich people.
You think that's it? Rich people?
Not
There's
much
more
traffic.
traffic.
Less or more traffic? Yeah, depending on, and what does that mean? More wrecks up in Salt Lake. So just because you live in Utah County, you're going to pay a little bit less than your friends who live in Salt Lake. Question?
So the people who live in like big cities like San Francisco or like New York and stuff like
Absolutely.
that, they pay like really high.
The big cities, they'd probably pay 2 or 3 times what you guys would pay here in a rural community. Absolutely. Marital status affects your rates. Unmarried people get in 30% more accidents than new married people. Why would that be?
They're trying to show off.
Okay?
They stopped doing process.
Obviously, if you're unmarried, you're going to pay more for insurance than somebody who's married, regardless of age. 30-year-old married people get in fewer accidents than 30-year-old unmarried people. So, when you become married, your rates go down a little bit, typically. Okay, how about this one? Does gender affect your insurance rates?
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
Boys have to pay more.
You think it's boys or girls?
No, boys have to pay
Girls
more.
have to pay more.
I thought girls were terrible drivers. What do you mean?
No, boys have to pay more.
Boys are competitive.
Okay, guys, I hate to say it. Men are involved in 30% more accidents than are women.
That means girls are better drivers.
So,
What is safety?
who's going to pay more for insurance? 16-year-old young man or young woman?
Young man.
Young men, and we know the reasons why. You already talked about it. Okay. A lot of these things that we just talked about are not in your control. Some of them are in your control. We mostly want to talk about the things that you can control. Someday you're going to be able to buy your own car. Just keep in mind that, hey, if I'm trying to keep my rates, buy a sensible car. Avoid tickets. We've already talked about that. Okay? If you get a ticket, whose fault is it? Is it your fault? Guess what? That's exactly right. You can't blame anybody. Sorry. Is it your friend's fault?
No.
Unfortunately, no. How about the car you're driving? It's its fault, right?
No.
The cop. It's the cop's fault.
No.
Okay?
Doing his
How
job.
about... Go ahead. Question.
I heard that cops pull over red and yellow, like faster cars.
I've heard that same rumor.
It's-
I don't have personally any proof of that, but that's what I've heard.
It's true.
Okay.
What's
Anyway.
it?
Okay. What is something else a 16-year-old student at Westlake High School can do to save money on their insurance?
Get good grades.
Carpool?
Get good grades?
Really?
Okay, do you believe that?
Yes.
You think good grades are going to save you money on your insurance?
Yeah.
Have your parents been filling you full of a bunch of garbage or what?
Really?
No, it's true. Okay? Let's talk about it.
Yep.
I'm going to throw a couple numbers up here just to give you an idea of what you can expect to get for discounts. And again, understand, I'm giving you information that we do at Farmers because, that's who I work for and that's what I understand. But yes, Farmers does have a good student discount. Does anybody know what we require at Farmers to get our good student discount? What do you think? 3.4. 3.4? What have your parents told you? What's your company require?
My dad just tells me a 4, so I'll do good.
That'll make sense.
That's what my dad says.
Okay, and I have to be careful with this because I don't know what your company requires. If they require a 3.4, that's what you need to shoot for to get a good student discount. Okay? At Farmers, we require a 3.0. Okay, a B average. If you have a B average 3.0, we're going to give you a 20% discount off of your insurance. 20%, is that a big deal?
Yeah.
That is. That's a big discount. Why would we give you 20% off of your insurance just because you're a B student?
Because we're smart.
Do you think it's because you're smart? What do you think?
The students who get good grades are usually more responsible.
Okay? We're going to talk about that word a lot today, being responsible. Because when it comes to automobile insurance, being responsible is going to save you a ton of money. And that's probably, you know the answers better than I do. All I can tell you is I know that B students get in fewer accidents than those that don't get a B or better. Okay? Now be honest with me. How hard is it at Westlake High School to get a B if you go to class and you try? Coach, how hard is it to get a B out of your class?
If they come and
Try.
just turn in all the stuff, yeah. They should
Come
be
to
able
class, turn in your assignments and try.
Especially here because there's a kind of a unique system here where, you know, you're making up tests that you did poorly on. They let you retake them and take them and take them.
Sure.
And some teachers cap that, but
So?
some will give you the grade that you retake, and so.
Okay, so the reality is if you try, most of you can pull that off. So, you know, again, we're going to reward you for that. Okay, next thing we want, so I would, on your assignment, you know, put down grades. Obviously, that's going to save you money on your insurance. I'm going to give you 3 or 4 other real quick things that you can do to save money on your insurance. We already talked about this briefly, but the YES discount, if you're with Farmers, just by being here today, you're going to get a discount on your insurance. If you're not with Farmers, again, I'm sorry, I don't help you out with that. But it's very possible that your insurance company has a similar education discount. If they do, take advantage of it. Go down and sit down with your agent and talk about this kind of stuff. Because, for example, with Farmers, that's another 25% discount just for having been through this program. Big deal?
Yeah.
That's huge. Those 2 things right there are almost half your premium, just by doing those 2 simple things. Okay? So again, dumb question. Why would we give you 25% off your insurance just because you sit down with your agent and go through this? What do you think?
Because then you know the information about it.
Well, that's what we found, is that if we can sit down with our young drivers and go through this, it does help them become better drivers, and maybe it helps them avoid tickets and accidents. That's my only reason for being here today, is hopefully to educate you guys and help make you guys better drivers. Okay? Couple, 3 more things. If there's any other advice I can give you guys today on buying insurance, here it is. Here's the big secret. Okay? Mooch off your parents as long as you can. Okay? Stay on your parents' insurance as long as they will let you. Because there are discounts you can get by being on their insurance that you can't get on your own. So, for example, we have a multi-car discount, okay? You insure your car, mom and dad insure a car, you insure them together, a multi-car discount. That's about a 13% discount. Not bad. Mom and dad own a home, and they decide to insure their home with their cars. That's about a 15% discount. So if mom and dad own a home, you can get that discount on your car as well. These are starting to add up, aren't they? Okay, the last one I want to talk about here is a discount based on credit. If your parents have good credit, there are big discounts that they can get on their automobile insurance. Now, what determines if your parents have good or bad credit?
How much they spend?
How much they spend, how they spend it,
If they pay it off monthly.
they pay their bills on time. If your parents are, here's that word again, responsible with their money, guess what we found? We have found that they are much better drivers. And so we'll give a discount based on their credit. In fact, we have found credit is one of the biggest factors we can look at to determine if somebody's going to get in a wreck or not. Isn't that weird? But it's true. So most companies are now looking at credit. So you guys right now, young in age, can start learning about how to try to keep good credit so you can save money on your insurance. Okay, turn to the next page. I know we're just throwing a bunch of numbers out here, but before I came here today, I jumped on the computer and I worked up a couple of insurance rates just to give you an idea how much you can expect to pay for insurance. Okay? The first thing that we're going to do is let's assume that Tyler goes out and buys that 1970 Ford Pinto. He now needs to buy insurance for it. We're going to assume he gets all the discounts that we just talked about right here. Okay? How much is it going to cost for him to insure? Here we go. The first thing, okay, by that first dollar sign on that next page, the first thing I'm going to give you is a rate for you young women. The best rate I can give a 16-year-old female to insure that car in their name is $302.20. $302.20. That's every 6 months. It's about $50 a month. Now, be honest with me. If you checked into it, would that be a good rate to insure a car in a 16-year-old girl? That's a great rate. Okay? Same scenario, guys. Best rate I could give you, $433.20 every 6 months. It's a little over $70 a month. What's the first thing we notice? Guys are more. But if you've checked into it, guys, that's still a very good insurance rate. Okay? Okay. Now let's assume that for whatever reason, Tyler didn't quite get his 3.0 this semester. Okay? So he was a 2.99. Am I going to be able to give him the good student discount with a 2.99? No. No, you got to be 3-point or better. So we're going to take that discount off. Okay? We know Tyler's a busy guy. It's hard to go down, sit down with your insurance agent, so he never finds the time to take advantage of the education discount. So we're going to take that one off as well. Well, Mom and Dad said, hey, Tyler, you're a big boy now. You bought your own car. Why don't you go buy your own insurance? He thinks, no problem, I'll do that. So he calls me up, says, hey, I need to insure my car. Am I going to be able to give him the multi-car discount? No, we're going to lose that. How about the auto home discount? You own your own home yet? No. Not yet. Okay. Let's take that one off. How's your credit? Good? Bad? Don't have any yet, right? So most likely you're not going to be eligible for a credit discount. Do you want to stay on Mom and Dad's policy as long as you can? Okay, that's why. Let's see what happens to our insurance rates just by losing those discounts. Okay? Girls, by that second dollar sign, your rate goes up to $914.70. $914.70 every 6 months. Guys, what do you think? $1,370.80.
Oh my God.
$1,370.80. Okay.
Wow, we're expensive.
Well, let me ask a very stupid, obvious question. Which one would you rather pay? Okay. Not a bad answer. Okay. You are in control of your insurance rates. They can be very affordable and inexpensive, or they can become very unaffordable. You know what? We haven't even talked about the fact if you've got tickets or accidents. If you had tickets, in addition to losing those discounts, it goes up from there big time. Okay? The worst I ever saw, I had a kid come into my office one time with 14 speeding tickets. I have no idea how he even had a driver's license still. But I just said, thanks, but no thanks. The most expensive premium I ever did was for about a 19-year-old who I think he had 5 speeding tickets. And this was like 5 or 6 years ago, so it was quite a while ago. But his insurance premium was $9,000 every 6 months. Okay? It's about $1,500 a month. Not bad, huh? Okay. Again, you are in control of your insurance rates. If he'd have had all the discounts and everything we just talked about, might have been $100 a month. So it makes a huge difference. Okay? Any questions before we move on? Anything about insurance? Okay. What we're going to do now, we've got about a half hour, and I really have about 45 minutes worth of material still to cover.
You're good.
No. I can get that done. I will. We'll fly through this.
Only need 5-10 minutes.
We'll take what we need to then. Thank you. So what I'm saying is we're going to fly through this last part really quick. Okay? We are going to learn what it is you buy when you buy insurance. Most people have no idea what their insurance coverages are. You know what? Mr. Cooper is a smart guy, but if I asked him what every insurance coverage he owns was, he would have no clue. Okay? I do because I do it for a living, but most people don't. I hope that when we leave here today, if you'll pay attention, I almost guarantee you'll know more about insurance than your parents do. I'm going to teach you how to buy the right kind of insurance. Okay? So keep your assignments handy, because we're going to answer all of those questions for you on that paper. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about this word right here, liability. What does that word mean? If I'm liable for something, what does that mean? Okay, you're responsible. Okay, so if I'm in a wreck, it's my fault. I'm responsible for taking care of that other person, aren't I? I'm liable. That's my liability, is to take care of the damage that I caused. So when you buy insurance, that's what you're buying, is insurance to cover your legal responsibilities. So we've actually got that in 2 places, I've noticed, on your assignment. Under number 5C, liability, I would just put legal responsibility. That's what that word means. Liability, legal responsibility. Now, number 3, what is liability insurance? Well, that's insurance that you buy to cover your legal liabilities in the event you're in an accident. Okay? You can put that in your own words. Liability.
What is it again?
What is liability insurance? Well, it's insurance you buy to cover your legal responsibilities in the event of an accident. Is that close enough?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Now, if you will also turn our workbook to the very last page, okay, there's some definitions we're going to be able to use off of that. Okay, back to your assignment. What's the very first liability coverage that we want to talk about today? What's it called? Bodily injury. Okay, here we go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to explain this to you, and then I'm going to give you a 1-line definition just so you can put it on your paper. It's kind of self-explanatory. I'm in a wreck, it's my fault, somebody gets injured, this is the coverage that's going to pay for the injuries, bodily injury. That's just kind of a fancy legal term for somebody got hurt. Okay? So here you go, bodily injury. Ready? Pays for other people's injuries when I'm at fault in an accident. Pays for other people's injuries when I'm at fault in an accident. Okay, when you buy these coverages, you buy them in certain limits. You choose how much of this you want to buy. But there's a minimum you can buy. There's a minimum you can buy in the state of Utah. Does anybody have any idea what the minimum limits are for bodily injury? It's probably in your handbook, but we'll give it to you anyway. So under number 2, what are the minimum limits? We're going to have 2 answers there, so write kind of small. Put BI first, so we know we're referring to bodily injury. And I want you to put this amount, $25,000 / $50,000. Okay? What does that mean? The $25,000 is a per person. The $50,000 is per accident or per occurrence. Meaning we will never pay more than $25,000 for any one person, no more than $50,000 for the entire accident if you have this coverage. So, example. Okay, Michael is screaming down the road in his new Jaguar. Runs into Tyler. It's Michael's fault. Tyler's hurt for 20 grand. He has a friend with him who's hurt for 30 grand. Okay, if this is Michael's insurance, is it going to pay for everybody's injuries? Yes or no? No? Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would.
Yes or no?
Well,
Okay, what's the most we pay for any one person? 25. Will it take care of Tyler?
yeah.
Sure. Will it take care of his friend?
No.
No, we're short $5,000, aren't we? Even though it's under this limit, they max it out at that limit. We're $5,000 short. Who's going to pay for that $5,000?
Michael.
Michael, because he's what?
Liable.
He's liable. It's his responsibility. Okay? So, same scenario. This time, Tyler has 2 of his buddies. They're all hurt for 20 grand. Okay? Is Michael's insurance going to pay for all that? Yes or no?
No.
Why not? It's all under 25 now. Okay, but the most we'll pay is 50. We have 60. We're short 10 grand. And who gets to pay for that? Michael's responsible, he's liable.
I'm going back to the truck.
Okay. You cannot buy any less than this. Can you buy more? Should you buy more?
Probably.
What's the average medical cost of a life flight victim from an automobile accident? What was it? 98 grand. Okay? You just cause a big accident. Here comes the helicopter to pick up the guy, right? And you've got $25,000 worth of coverage. Are you hating life? Because you're going to be paying a lot of money out of your pocket. Okay, right next to where you put the $25.50, I want you to put this amount. I want you to put $250,000 and $500,000. That's what we recommend that you purchase, is $250,000 per person and $500,000 per accident. Now, if you're at $25.50 and you bump your coverages to $250, $500, what's going to happen to your insurance rates? They're going to go up, obviously. How much are they going to go up?
A lot.
Big time, right? This is the part that most people do not understand. It's very inexpensive to bump these coverages up. If you were at $25.50 and you wanted to bump your coverages up to $250, $500, it's only going to cost you $35 to $40 more every 6 months. So for $5 or $6 more per month, you can give yourself hundreds of thousands of dollars more coverage. Now, is that kind of a no-brainer?
Yeah.
I think it is, and that's always been my recommendation, is buy the coverage, as much coverage as you can afford. Okay, guess what? Sure as you're sitting here today, some of your parents have got $25.50. Now, is that because your parents are stupid? No. It just means nobody's explained this to them before. Okay? In fact, I will bet very few of your parents have the $250, $500. I'll bet most of them are somewhere in between the two. So, educate your parents and buy the right kind of coverage. Can your parents afford another $5 a month if they had to? Probably. Okay? Do you understand how that works? Do you understand that concept? Okay, let's move on to the next one. What's the next coverage on our list? Property damage. This is a separate coverage. Bodily injury, what does it pay for? The injuries, right? What do you think this is going to pay for?
Property.
Property. Okay, whatever it is you run into. It could be the car, the house, the tree, the fence, the mailbox that you accidentally ran over, right? Okay. So here you go. Property damage pays for other people's property when I'm at fault in an accident. Pays for other people's property when I'm at fault in an accident. Let's slide that over just a minute. Okay, under number 2, state minimums of bodily injury were $25.50. Now put PD. Minimum $15,000 in the state of Utah. You cannot buy any less than that. What do you think? Is $15,000 enough property damage in today's world? Probably not. How many cars are on the road right now worth more than 15 grand? Quite a few. So you just totaled that $40,000 Suburban. Your insurance will pay the 15 and you get to pay the rest out of your pocket. We recommend you purchase $100,000. Okay? So put 100 grand right there. Yes, it's going to cost a couple dollars more per month, but it's not that expensive. Very inexpensive. For less than $10 more per month, you can have the $250, $500, and $100. And you, like I say, you're giving yourself hundreds of thousands of dollars more coverage. Okay? Now, there's a couple of other coverages under this side that we're not going to have time to talk to about. But we do need to talk about this one. It's called no fault. Is that on your list?
Yep.
Okay. This one's kind of confusing, so let me explain it to you. This is a very important law that you understand in Utah. This coverage is mandatory in Utah. You have to have it. But here's the way it works. It does not matter who's at fault. In Utah, if you are injured in an automobile accident, you must call your insurance company because they are required to pay the first $3,000 of your injuries, even if you're not at fault. So even though Michael's 100% at fault and Tyler gets injured, the first $3,000 of his injuries comes out of his own insurance. Okay? That's the law in Utah. Kind of a weird law, but it's the way it is. Now, that doesn't mean that Michael gets off scot-free. What happens when Tyler's insurance company pays that $3,000? What are they going to do now? They're going to go back after him and get reimbursed for it, right? So, I'll put $3,000 right here. Okay, here you go, no fault. You ready? Regardless of fault, the first $3,000 of my injuries comes out of my insurance. Regardless of fault, first $3,000 of my injuries comes out of my insurance. So, you get injured in an accident, call your insurance company. Okay? In fact, it's a really weird law. If you, let's say a neighbor kid climbs on top of your parked car in your driveway and falls off and bonks their head, by law, that comes out of your no fault. Kind of weird, isn't it? But that's the way it works. Yeah, not very fair. Michael?
How about this scenario? You stopped at a corner. Stop sign.
In a car?
No, and a kid hits you on your bike. Who's at fault?
Guess what? The kid's at fault. Unfortunately, doesn't matter, state law. First $3,000 of that kid's injuries comes out of your car. A pedestrian always, always, always has the right of way. If a pedestrian gets hurt around your car, unfortunately, your car pays for it. That's the law. Okay? Okay, what we have just purchased here with a couple of other coverages that we're not going to get into, this is a liability-only policy. These coverages are required by law. If you buy insurance in the state of Utah, it must include these coverages. Okay? Well, you might think, what other coverages are there? Well, one of the things we haven't even talked about yet is your car. Okay? There's nothing over here that pays for my car. It'll cover the other person's injuries, pays for the other person's car, and it'll cover my injuries, but it does not cover my car. So if you want to buy coverage on your car, you've got to come over here and buy optional coverages, and we are going to buy physical damage coverage for my car. Now, why wouldn't you always buy physical damage coverage for your car? Well, if you own a 1970 Ford Pinto and you destroy that in an accident, do you really care? No. Because I got $50, I'll go buy another one, right? Not a big deal. You're only going to want to buy a liability-only policy. That's much cheaper. Okay? If your car's not worth much, buy a liability-only policy. So those rates I gave you earlier today about, $300 every 6 months for the girls and $400 for the guys, that was a liability-only policy to insure a 1970 Ford Pinto. That's what it would insure. Okay? However, if I own a 2010 Jaguar or Ferrari or something like that, do I care about losing that car in an accident? Absolutely. I'm going to buy physical damage coverage for that. I don't want to be out $300,000. So, the first one we're going to purchase is collision. Okay? What number is that?
4.
Okay, you're going to have to write kind of small here because we've got two answers that we've got to figure out here. What's the difference between comp and collision? Well, collision is just what it says. If you collide with something, that's a collision. Doesn't matter if it's a car or a tree or a rock in the road or a chuck hole. That's a collision. Okay? This is the coverage that will pay for your car in the event of a collision. So here you go. Ready? Collision. Pays for my car in a collision. Write small. Pays for my car in a collision. When I am at fault, pays for my car in a collision when I am at fault, or I'm hit by someone without insurance. That's important to remember. Pays for my car in a collision when I'm at fault or hit by someone without insurance. Okay, there's a lot of of things that can happen to my car other than a collision. We cover those under comprehensive. This pays for the other things that can happen to my car other than a collision. What are we talking about? What else can happen to my car other than a collision? Keyed, vandalized, okay? Tree falls on it.
I said.
Sorry, you got to speak up. Theft, you know, we talked about vandalism. Any kind of a weather-related claim, a hailstorm, windstorm, earthquake, tornado, flood, hurricane.
You borrowed it to someone and they crashed it.
Guess what? It would still be collision. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. But you loan your car to somebody and they get in a wreck, whose insurance pays for it? Yours does. In Utah, the insurance follows the vehicle, not the driver. So if you loan your car to somebody and they get in a wreck, guess whose insurance goes up? Yours, because you are responsible for who drives your car. Okay? Just be aware of that. Okay, so comprehensive pays for things like theft, vandalism, weather, etc. Comprehensive. Theft, vandalism, weather, etc. These are separate coverages. You can buy one without the other. I have a lot of people who just buy comprehensive and not collision. Okay? Let's talk about a couple scenarios. You're driving up AF Canyon, there's a great big huge rock in the road, you come around the corner and hit it. Which coverage is going to pay for that? Comp or collision? Collision, you collided with it, right? You're driving up the canyon, the rock rolls off the hill and hits your car. Which is it? Comp or collision? That's comp. Okay? It collided with you, you didn't collide with it. There's a difference between the two. Okay? I'm driving up the canyon, rock rolls off the mountain and it's still rolling when I hit it. Ooh, that's kind of hard. You know what? That's kind of one of those gray areas. If it's still rolling, it could be comprehensive. But it could be collision too. So there's some of those things are a little bit gray. So be careful when you're buying one coverage and not the other to understand that there's that difference. Okay, you're driving down the road. The guy in front of you, a big piece of sheet metal flies off his truck and hits your car. What's going to cover it? Comprehensive. What if that same piece of sheet metal hit the ground and is sitting there and then you hit it? That's collision. As a general rule, if your insurance pays a collision claim, your rates are going to go up. If we pay on a comprehensive claim, it doesn't go up. Okay? Because usually collision means it was your fault. Question?
What if there's like a deer in the road or something?
That's the one exception to the rule. Colliding with an animal is considered comprehensive. Okay? Colliding with a person is a collision. Good. Okay? All right. Any questions on these coverages before we move on? Did we get everything answered for you on your assignment?
No.
Future proof. Can I help you with number one?
Yeah.
I can't. Why? What's it ask?
Will you have to pay for your own insurance?
I don't know. Do you?
I don't know.
Talk to your parents. Find out.
No.
I can't answer that question for you.
I'll have to pay for it.
How much is it going to cost you to insure your car? I don't know. Find out. That's the one question I can't help you with. Okay. Has anybody ever heard of future proof? Maybe not. Okay. This is really complicated and confusing, but I'm going to explain it, and then we'll try to get a one-line definition for you. Okay. How about an SR22? Anybody heard of an SR22?
Is that like a state road?
That's a good question. Okay. Yes, it does stand for state road in a lot of instances, but not this one. An SR22 is high-risk insurance. If you get too many tickets, and the state of Utah comes to you and says, too many tickets, too many accidents, or even one DUI, by the way, you will get your driver's license suspended or revoked.
That's terrible.
In order to get your license back, you're going to be required to purchase an SR22. What it is, for lack of a better word, it's a little piece of paper. Okay? You go to your insurance company and you say, hey, in order for me to get my license back, I got to purchase an SR22. Okay? What we do is we have an agreement with the state of Utah that if you ever cancel your insurance, we will notify the state of Utah. Okay? It's a little piece of paper. We send it to the state of Utah and say, this is his SR or her SR22. For a period of 3 years, if you ever cancel your insurance, we notify the state of Utah and they immediately revoke your license again. Okay? So in a way, you are proving into the future that you have insurance. How's that for confusing? Future proof. So here we go. I would just put down SR22, okay? And it's just say proving insurance into the future. But usually it's required if you want to get your license back if you've ever had it suspended or revoked. Okay. Coach, when is this assignment due?
This one right here?
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Wednesday. So you have from now till Wednesday, which is tomorrow, to find out how much insurance is going to cost you. That's the only one I couldn't help you with, right? Okay. And you know what? Cheat if you want to and use the numbers I already gave you. How's that? That might work.
Do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
Okay, can I get to you now?
Be resourceful. No,
Okay,
that'd
hold
be
on.
fine.
Quiet.
I'll leave them.
What's a grade? Semester before.
Are you done?
Okay, good question.
Did he answer it already?
Okay, question was, with the grades, what do we look at? I have to be careful here too because every company is different. With farmers, we look at your most recent report card. So if you were getting your license today, what report card would that be? It would be your last semester in October, right? If you're getting your license in February, we're going to look at the one that's just ending now, your second quarter. Some companies look at your cumulative. We don't. We look at your most recent report card. But if your company's looking at cumulative, again, you have to be careful of that. Okay? Okay, any other questions? Let me just finish with one real just quick story. What do I tell the Lehigh kid or the AF kid? Which one do you want to hear? Lehigh, of course. Okay. Do AF because they're. Okay, Lehigh guy, you ready for this? I have to be careful with this because this is a very prominent family in Lehigh, and a lot of you might know who this is. But this happened quite a few years ago, so maybe we're safe. Anyway, this kid had 2 tickets. He was about 17, 18 at the time, I don't remember. And I got a note from my company that said, hey, you need to talk to this kid, because if he gets another ticket, we're going to increase his rates substantially, like double. So I called the parents in, I called the kid in, and I said, hey, one more ticket, and your rates are going to double. Of course, Mom and Dad weren't very happy about that. We had a nice little talk, decided, hey, no more tickets for us. Okay? Well, about 3 weeks later, he's coming down Geneva Road, going a little bit fast, looks in his rearview mirror, sees the police officer behind him, and like, oh crap, one more ticket, my parents are going to kill me. So what does he do? He tries to ditch the police officer, right? Okay. Now when we talk about this, you know, there's the lesser of 2 evils. Okay? So he tries to get away, goes through the neighborhood, there's a big chase. Obviously he gets caught. Now, instead of having 3 tickets, he now also has a reckless driving, a evading a police officer, which, by the way, are major citations, just like a DUI. Okay? State of Utah automatically revokes his license. Okay? Here's the problem. Most standard insurance companies, like a Farmers or an Allstate or a State Farm or a Bear River or whatever, will not insure a household with a suspended driver's license. So not only do we cancel Junior's policy, we cancel the whole house. And they have to go to a high-risk insurance company for 1 year until Junior gets his driver's license back. So instead of his rates doubling, the whole family's insurance rates double. He goes to jail and gets all these big, huge driving citations. Use a little common sense, okay? You know what? One ticket, speeding ticket, is a lot worse than all the other stuff. And I tell you that, yeah, in fun because, you know, this kid made a really dumb mistake and a bad decision. But you guys make that decision every day you're behind the wheel, okay? You know what? Guess where, in my opinion, well, it's not my opinion, it's a fact. Where do most accidents happen for teenagers? Where do you think one place that happens?
In the school parking lot.
High school parking lot. Why is that?
Show off.
Okay, I have literally been doing this same class at American Fork and all these other schools for probably 15 years. Okay? Every kid that goes through driver's ed in the public school system on the north end of Utah County hears me talk. Yet invariably there's still kids that get speeding tickets. They're in the parking lot getting dumb little stupid fender benders because, you know what, all the things that we talked about are going to be out of your mind within the next few days. I challenge you to please just be responsible, use a little common sense. When you're in the parking lot and the guy cuts you off, big deal. You know what? You're going to get home 10 seconds later than you would have if you'd have cut him off. Okay? Just dumb things like that. Be responsible. Have a lot of fun with it. I still love to drive. I do. I jump in my car, drive up the canyon. I just love to drive. And you know what? It's awesome. And so I'm excited for you guys. But you know what? I've also seen a lot of people who lose that privilege because they're just doing dumb mistakes and making dumb decisions. So anyway, you guys have been awesome. Any last minute questions before we turn you loose? That's it?
Wait, can we just keep this
Yeah, that's yours. Okay, let me hand out these certificates and they're yours. Okay? So, thanks for your time and good luck.
Thank you. Thank you
No
very much.
problem.
My stepdad works for farmers.